In the treasure domain infinite space, Luo Feng transformed into a streak of flowing light, flying at a speed hundreds of times faster than when he first arrived in the infinite space. And this was only the normal speed for traveling. This treasure domain is quite occupied in places with slightly more native creatures. If I want to establish my own territory, I must head to the most remote and desolate areas. Luo Feng decided on a direction and continued on his way. In places with many native creatures, a single region might have over 100 of them, enough for several godly kings to join forces and take it over. But in the remote and desolate lands, there might only be 1 or 2 native creatures in a large area. Because they are so few, they are only suitable for individual occupation. The biggest danger of occupying alone is encountering other invaders. Luo Feng had also been under the protection of Emperor Ming, cultivating in solitude for 100 eras before venturing out on his own. Whoosh, Luo He. This is the territory of the Flame-Wind Ancient Countries Imperial Clan. Please leave. This is the domain of the Thunder Ancient Countries Imperial Clan. Leave quickly. On his journey, Luo Feng tried his best to avoid areas occupied by major powers. When encountering immense consciousness, he would be warned and expelled. He had never again encountered anyone as willing to give him a piece of land as Emperor Ming was. After flying for a long time, he finally reached his destination. 100 Mist Lake. Luo Feng looked at the vast endless lake in front of him, with mist wafting about. 100 Mist Lake, extremely vast. In the earliest times, there were over 100 native creatures here. Later, the monarch of the Thunder Ancient Country monopolized this place, causing the number of native creatures here to continually decrease. Now, there are probably only a handful of creatures in the entire lake, Luo Feng pondered. This was a place that had been occupied by various powers. Because there were too few creatures and the area was too vast, major powers had lost interest. It was only lone cultivators like Luo Feng who would be interested. Begin a thorough investigation of 100 Mist Lake, eternal life, unending death, divide. With a single thought from Luo Feng, 9 avatars split off, flying in all directions, carefully searching for native creatures within the misty expanse. In infinite space, 19 origin Great Daos are sealed. To perform truly powerful moves, one must carve out new paths for themselves. Over these past 100 eras, Luo Feng had also been attempting to open up the Great Tao of Life and Death. This cultivation had progressed by leaps and bounds. His speed was much faster than when he contemplated the Great Tao of Life origin and the Great Tao of Destruction origin. The reason for such a swiftness is multifaceted. Firstly, Luo Feng had already reached the pinnacle of primal chaos in both life and destruction pathways. With enough profound accumulation, merging into the Great Tao of Life and Death made the comprehension naturally smooth. Secondly, deep in Luo Feng's heart, he truly believed that life and death are one, which is the path his spirit acknowledged. When becoming an eternal true God, Luo Feng's enlightenment was on the source of life and death. The first primal chaos realm move Luo Feng conceived was a blend of life and death, the blade technique heart honing. It was just because the supreme laws did not include the Great Tao of Life and Death origin that Luo Feng temporarily set it aside to concentrate on the other two. After all, both the Great Tao of Life origin and the Great Tao of Destruction origin existed and could be contemplated and observed. In Luo Feng's heart, these two origin Great Taos are both fundamental and nourishment. Ultimately, they are both for the sake of opening up his own Great Tao of Life and Death. The Great Tao of Life and Death is indeed much more powerful, Luo Feng thought. With no clear origin Great Tao to refer to, Luo Feng purely followed his heart, starting to merge some insights from the Taos of Life and Destruction and naturally conceived many moves. I have been in the land of origin for about 160 eras. These past 100 eras have been the time of my deepest accumulations. Luo Feng was clear about his own progress. The Great Tao of Life and Death is the integrated and evolved version of the two pathways of life and destruction, containing many of their advantages. But its downside is clear. The absence of a clear Tao means that Luo Feng does not know what the branches of the Great Tao are. So far, he has conceived several godly king-level secret techniques in the Great Tao of Life and Death, yet he still hasn't grasped a complete branch of the Great Tao of Life and Death. life has 6 branches, destruction has 6 branches, but Luo Feng can clearly watch and has a definite direction. Luo Feng feels that if he tries deliberately, he fears he could achieve the godly king level within one era. But Luo Feng has a lot of patience. He follows the guidance of the creator from the heritage of world life form, focusing on honing his perception as the foundation. He continuously accumulates until he breaks through naturally. He does not pursue breakthroughs deliberately. The encounter in infinite space made me comprehend the great Tao of life and death sooner. Clearly, the great Tao of life and death indeed suits me better than life or destruction, Luo Feng surmised within his heart, having guessed this earlier since he always believed life and death are one, and without one, it would be incomplete. From this century of cultivation, it can be seen that practicing the great Tao of life and death is to come from behind and overtake, without specific secret techniques, without great Tao enlightenment. Yet, his strength in the aspect of the great Tao of life and death is stronger than the other two. This also proves one point: the path that suits oneself best is the one that advances the fastest, Luo Feng thought. Godly kings usually focus on a single origin great Tao. Very few cultivate 2 of them, because each cultivator has their own spiritual belief. Some cognitions inherently negate certain great Taos, and even develop antipathy for some paths. Forcing comprehension of them naturally results in extremely low efficiency. Like the mountain-sitting guest, who has his own path to follow. He had never been interested in controlling the primordial cosmos or facing the great Tao of life origin, nor had he ever attempted to do so. I've completed the investigation. Using the technique of avatars, Luo Feng finally finished scouting 100 Mist Lake. Now, two godly kings occupy separate regions of 100 Mist Lake. Beyond their territories, there are 3 indigenous creatures, all quite distant from each other. Among these 3 indigenous creatures, 2 are relatively ordinary, similar to those I've engaged with before. But one is extremely powerful. It only sustained minor injuries despite my direct use of the Lai Yuan technique. These 3 indigenous creatures were one strong and 2 weak. Luo Feng was quite satisfied. He hoped for more powerful spiritual beings to hone himself. It'll be these 3. Although the 3 indigenous creatures were quite far apart, Luo Feng decided to take over all their regions. Using the technique of avatars, I shall occupy each indigenous creature's territory. Luo Feng's true body and his 2 avatars scattered, each occupying the territory of one indigenous creature. In Flame-Wind Ancient Country, within Windjong City, this place was also the ancestral land of the royal family Zhong family, where generations of the clan's descendants thrived and lived. Ha ha, brother Luo say, please. Yun Zhe becoming Taoist couple with Moyu Qingyan is also a connection between our Zhong family and Great Saint Luo He. Inside a grand hall of the Zhong family, the core leadership warmly hosted Morosa and Moyu Qingyan. Inside the hall, the 2 primal chaos overlords of the Zhong family made their appearance, sitting at the main table with Morosa, chatting and laughing with ease, showing a harmonious atmosphere. This lad Qingyan is a disciple of my master, and also my disciple, Morosa chuckled. Once Yun Zhe and Qingyan become a Taoist couple, she will be like my half-disciple, too. Moyu Qingyan and Zhong Yanj sat at the lower end of the table, the 2 of them being the younger generation. Just listen quietly. It seems both parties are getting along very well. Moyu Qingyan was pleased to see this scene. On his first visit to the Zhong family, they disapproved of him, but in the end, they welcomed him warmly. Although Zhong Yanj was from a main branch of the Zhong family, with the royal family having countless descendants, she was just one eternal true god among tens of thousands within the royal family and hence, not very conspicuous. I am not given much attention in the clan, Zhong Yanj transmitted her voice. The presence of the 2 primal chaos overlords is actually because of your status. It was quite significant whenever a primal chaos overlord made an appearance. As for the highest-ranking member of the Zhong family, the Wind Chapter God King, after all being a godly king, he did not need to get involved in the matter of 2 junior eternal true gods becoming a Taoist couple. Even if Great Saint Luo He were to become a godly king and truly turn into an overlord-level existence, the Wind Chapter God King did not need to overly curry favor. He had his own influence rooted in Flame-Wind Ancient Country. Qingyan, from now on we are family, said Yun Ji's father warmly. As an ordinary eternal true god, His status within the clan was far less than those from the Law lineage, but today he was rather prominent. Even the two old primal chaos overlords were amiable towards him. Moyu Kinyan showed no hint of arrogance. He was well aware of his position. It was only through his second master's careful guidance that he became a true god of void space via the Law lineage. Later on, with the help of his master and second master's resources, he was able to follow the bloodline cultivation system and become an eternal true god. In terms of cultivation potential, he indeed had little. His current status was purely because he was the only disciple of his master and second master. What was there to be proud of? Seeing this, Zhongyanj also revealed a smile. She was committed to Moyu Kinyan as her Taoist couple. When she was first tasked with the royal family's trade in Xiongji City and met Moyu Kinyan, he was flattered by all sides and held a very high status there. After spending more time together, she found Moyu Kinyan to be genuine, which gradually led her to develop feelings. To have reached eternal true god and still have no Taoist couple showed her intentions. Without someone suitable, she would prefer to cultivate alone forever. Moyu Kinyan felt the same way. Both had reached eternal true god level before choosing a Taoist couple. In the Treasure Land Infinite Space, as his disciple was about to get married, Luo Fun, as his master, remained wholly focused on cultivation. He was currently sitting cross-legged on an island in the middle of a lake, performing the Great Destruction heart-refining technique to eradicate the spiritual pollution within himself. The stronger the spiritual beings, the stronger their corruption, he mused. Luo Fun could feel the effect on himself, as even his attempts to comprehend the Great Taos were repeatedly disrupted by the spiritual pollution. Rumble, tilde. Suddenly, a stream of consciousness touched the expanse of Luo Feng's awareness. This is my territory, leave immediately. Luo Fun conveyed his consciousness. Your territory. I've killed this indigenous creature's ancestor countless times. It has always been my place. That spiritual will, also reaching the second realm of godly king level, was embodied by a large figure in a yellow robe standing in the distance, looking at the island with a sneer. So, it's Luo He? You, a transcendence of primal chaos realm, dare to dispute territory with me, an elder. If you don't want to die, then get lost quickly. Looking at him, Luo Feng's eyes grew cold. Let's see how much skill you, at the first realm of godly king, truly have in this infinite space.